Happy Tuesday. I am Philo Lila here at Barnes& and Nobles in Boynton Beach, Florida, and I feel inspired to read a little section from my book, Unlocking Our Superpowers. This chapter is called The Great Integration. So here we go. Please bear with me despite any Christmas music playing in the background. Throughout human history, our species has always had a special connection to the planet as a whole. Essentially, every indigenous culture has revered Mother Earth, Pachamama, as the giver of life, providing food, water, shelter, and everything else for the tribe. As humans evolved, some sections of humanity began to build civilization. This was a huge change because it distanced humans from the natural world and the spirit of Pachamama. As they began to build big cities, the sense of the wilderness began to disappear. Rather than foraging and hunting for food, they used farming and domesticated other animals. As generation after generation of children were raised in civilization, many people forgot what it was like to be deeply connected to the spirit of our living planet. We began to see Mother Earth as a resource to be used, rather than a being to be in harmonious relationship with. This process of separation from nature has continued to accelerate at an exponential rate since the dawn of modern civilization some 10,000 years ago. All over the planet, human culture evolved and developed many incredible inventions which were intended to improve the quality of life. It is important to note that not all humans decided to pursue the development of civilizations. There were thousands of unique indigenous tribes all around the world who chose to remain close to their indigenous ways, staying deeply connected to Pachamama. These cultures were usually pushed to far corners of the globe, often to remote locations, in order to avoid the encroachment of civilization. They chose to preserve their ancient ways and generally live a more simple life. It's not to say that they were always in utopia, but many anthropologists document that these tribal people experienced hardly any warfare, rape, and had quite remarkable health. As these tribes stayed in their own traditions, civilization pressed forward full speed. In some sense, things like Christianity, higher mathematics, science, and the printing press did enhance people's lives. There was also usually a shadow side to this progress. Christianity put God into an external realm, far from the previously sacred earth. Higher mathematics and science made it possible for humans to use rationality to objectify, control, and dominate the forces of nature to our benefit. The printing press helped accelerate the spread of information, yet also contributed to the already increasing deforestation. It is tough to say whether these changes were good or bad, but whatever was happening, we can see that human consciousness was shifting and evolving in many ways. When coal and oil were discovered, humans were able to harness even more of the forces of nature and eat up the resources of Mother Earth with lightning speed. By the early 1900s, human population had exploded to almost 2 billion people. In the 20th century, human evolution drastically increased again, as cheap oil and coal made it easier to grow more food and build civilization on nearly every corner of the globe. As technology evolved, wars went from being fought on horseback with rifles to planes dropping bombs. In World War II, when the US dropped 2 nuclear bombs on Japan, this drastically impacted human consciousness. For the first time in the history of our planet, many people grappled with the possibility that we could wipe ourselves out. Many people realized if we keep blowing up nukes, we're going to destroy our only home. I believe this marked a turning point in the awakening of greater consciousness in our species. In the 1960s, we'd reached upwards of 3 billion people, and we were ravaging the world's resources at an astonishing rate. The 1960s had many other milestones in the awakening of humanity. We saw the rise of the civil rights movement, with Martin Luther King Jr. stirring the hearts of people with his powerful speeches and passion. All over the country, people utilized civil disobedience and boycotts to rally for justice and equality. This coincided with the massive anti-war movement, where people of all ages, colors, and backgrounds unified for a more peaceful planet. After seeing the potential destruction of nuclear weapons, it became more urgent and more important to vote for a world with less military conflicts and protest the Vietnam War. The time is now 9:45. Barnes & Noble's is closing in 15 minutes. So pause the story of humanity here for a moment. I'm actually going to make a part 2 of this just to pause for a moment. Stay tuned.